No, I can't do this. I just want to hit somebody so hard right now. I can't do this. I can't do this. I swear to God, if she dies, I can't. I can't do
It was a heartbreaking scene on July 19, 2023 in McClenny, Florida. The sun was scorching over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Around 1 p.m., a panicked 911 call came in. A baby girl had been found unconscious in a car, her skin burned, unresponsive. When police arrived, the mother was screaming, cradling her 10-month-old daughter in her arms. Baby Ariya Paige. Her body was purple, limp, and burning hot.
I don't even want it. I don't want it. It was to pay the babysitter, and I don't want to pay her. I'm going to jail. Mom, grandmother.
The babysitter that day was Rhonda Jewell, 47, a close friend of the victim's mother, a woman who had raised dozens of children. Rhonda said she forgot. She thought she had carried the baby into the house. She said her mind was clouded due to family issues. But some details didn't add up. Small changes in the days prior, an argument, a strange coldness, an accident, a careless mistake, or something else buried beneath the tears. The answer sparked nationwide controversy, and the ending outraged the public even more than the child's death. Ariya Paige was only 10 months old. She was the first child of the young couple Brooke Paige and Justice, the first baby in the family, cherished and cared for every single day. Ariya was alert, cheerful, always smiling, learning to stand while holding on to things and getting ready to take her first steps. To her loved ones, she was like a gentle light in the midst of weary days. A little angel who could make anyone smile with just a glance or a babble. The person assigned to care for her that day was Rhonda Jewell, 47, a woman with a gentle appearance, a former preschool teacher, and the mother of 3 grown children. No criminal record, no scandals. Rhonda was considered trustworthy. She had long been a close friend of Ariya Paige, the grandmother of a pair of twins Rhonda had helped care for over the years. In June 2023, as Brooke prepared to return to work after her maternity leave, she asked Rhonda to look after Ariya a few days a week. Rhonda didn't hesitate. She agreed immediately, even showing enthusiasm. Ariya was also the granddaughter of her best friend, so the relationship was closer than just a babysitter role. For Brooke, leaving her baby in the care of someone familiar, someone who had raised many children, seemed like a natural decision. No one imagined that very trust would become the key to a tragedy just weeks later. The fateful morning, July 19, 2023 at 7:50 a.m., Rhonda Jewell drove to Brooke Paige's house to pick up baby Ariya. It wasn't the first time she had done this. Ariya had been under Rhonda's care for several weeks and everything had been normal, until that day. Instead of heading straight to the daycare location, Rhonda stopped at a Burger King to get breakfast. But the drive-through line was too long, and she grew impatient. She turned the car around and drove directly to Ariya Paige's house, the place where she regularly babysat, to make it on time so Stacy could go to work. She parked the car in the driveway under the blazing sun, with temperatures ranging from 95 to 100 degrees, and at that very moment something unimaginable happened. Rhonda walked into the house without taking Ariya out of the car, and from that point on the questions began. How could someone who had raised 3 children, someone who had worked in childcare for decades, forget a 10-month-old baby in a car during the peak of Florida summer? No one has a definitive answer, but one chilling fact remains. From that moment forward, Ariya was left alone in silence for over 5 hours. During that time, Rhonda continued caring for 3 other children in the house as if nothing had happened. She played with them, cleaned up, prepared meals, but never once noticed Ariya's absence. Not a single glance toward the empty seat. Not one question. Where is the baby? This wasn't a fleeting lapse in awareness. It was negligence, prolonged, repeated, and it ultimately became the direct cause of death. Meanwhile, the SUV in the driveway had silently turned into a deadly steam chamber. According to the crime scene investigation report, when the car door was finally opened, the interior temperature measured 134 Celsius, approximately 56 Celsius. And if the doors had remained sealed that entire time, the actual temperature may have exceeded 142 degrees, more than enough to kill a child within just 30 minutes. Around 1 p.m., Brooke, baby Ariya's mother, arrived to pick up her daughter. She knocked, but no one answered. Rang the doorbell, still no response. Brooke called Rhonda's phone, and instead of coming to the door, Rhonda asked a question that made the mother freeze. "Which door are you standing at?" That question said it all. Rhonda had forgotten she was caring for Ariya, forgotten that the child had never been brought inside that morning. In her mind, Ariya simply didn't exist. Moments later, Rhonda began screaming hysterically, shoved Brooke aside, and ran to the SUV. When she opened the back door, she found Ariya still strapped in her car seat. Purple, limp, unresponsive. Rhonda completely broke down. She vomited, lost control of her bladder, and was in such a panic she couldn't remember her phone password, unable to call 911. Brooke, in a state of shock and anguish, lifted Ariya from the car and carried her into the garage, where paramedics soon arrived and began CPR. On police body cam footage, one medic was heard saying, "The baby's skin is hot, like she's been burned, like she's on fire." Ariya was immediately rushed to the hospital in critical condition. Brooke and the baby's grandmother waited for updates in anguish. But when the doctor came out, all hope vanished. Ariya did not survive.
10 months old, can you just describe what she was like, what she was capable of doing at that age?
I'm so sorry. She was a very bubbly little girl. She would laugh. She was never a bad baby. She was constantly so happy, but she would stare through you like no other person. She didn't care who you were, even me. She'd look at me and make me laugh at those little goofy looks. At that point, she was saying "Dada." She was just getting to the point where she was able to pull up on stuff, like she was about to start walking. She was just so giggly and happy, so bubbly, such an outgoing baby. You would just have to see her and you would just fall in love.
In court, the prosecutor didn't just let Brooke recount her painful memories. He asked her to clarify every detail, from the moment she arrived, how she knocked on the door, to Rhonda's unusual reaction. Everything was documented step by step, like a scene reconstruction told by the mother herself. Brooke insisted she had never once needed to call ahead before arriving. Rhonda would always open the door right away. But that day, no one answered the doorbell, and there were no approaching footsteps. Only the sound of the TV and children echoed from inside, a clear sign that Rhonda was there, alert and present the entire time. When asked about Ariya's condition, Brooke recounted it in a state nearly beyond tears. She confirmed that her daughter's diaper bag, containing her bottled diapers, wipes, was still lying untouched on the floor of the car. There were no signs that Rhonda had ever opened the car door, no sign of any attempt to care for the baby, not even a single glance into the back seat. That statement cut through the courtroom like a blade. Not because of the emotion, but because it exposed the core truth. Rhonda didn't just forget Ariya. She had taken no action that would show she was ever aware of the baby's presence in the car. To the prosecution, Brooke's testimony was irrefutable evidence. It demonstrated that Rhonda had completely failed to carry out even the most basic duties of a caregiver. She showed no instinct to check on the child, despite her many years working with children. And most importantly, she didn't realize her mistake until she was prompted to. Was this merely negligence, or a level of irresponsibility so severe it constituted a crime?
I forgot the baby in the car. And so I pushed her out the way. And I was screaming, "Oh my God, Brooke, oh my God, oh my God, Brooke." And I could hear her saying, what? And I ran to the car. And I opened up the door, and she was still there. Ariya was still in the back seat.
In court, Rhonda Jewell admitted to the entire incident, visibly distressed and confused. "I forgot. I thought the baby was asleep." According to her testimony, everything that morning happened too fast. She was anxious to arrive before 8:15 so Stacy could leave for work, while her mind was overwhelmed by many things at once. Preparing for an upcoming trip to London, sorting out paperwork for her son who was about to start college. Two major events happening simultaneously, clouding her mind, leaving her less alert than usual. And it was that very absent-mindedness that made her forget Ariya was still in the back seat. But was that explanation enough to remove her from criminal liability? That was precisely what the prosecutor sought to clarify. A babysitter with experience, a mother of 3. Yet not once did she turn her head to look at the back seat. Not a single action to check the list of children in her care. No routine, even a basic one, to ensure that all the kids had been brought inside safely. When asked why she didn't call for emergency help immediately upon discovering the child, Rhonda said she panicked, vomited, lost control of her bladder, and couldn't remember her phone's passcode. "I begged God, please take me instead of her." But in the eyes of the prosecutor, remorse, no matter how painful, cannot erase the consequences of the original act of negligence. Rhonda was not a bystander who accidentally forgot a possession. She was a professional caregiver, paid to ensure the safety of a life. Just like a doctor cannot use exhaustion as an excuse for failing to resuscitate, or a bus driver cannot forget a sleeping passenger in the back seat. In professions that involve human lives, a single moment of oversight can become a tragedy. And with it comes a responsibility that cannot be denied.
So easy. Her laughing giggles would carry my attention every time, would catch my attention every time, but hearing those words, "Dada," would put the biggest smile on my face. After a long day at work, I knew I would be coming home to a happy little girl that was just as excited to see me as I was excited to see her. Ariya knew she had me wrapped around her finger since the day she was born, and it shows by the brand new boat I bought her. Even though she didn't know I bought it just for her, she always had a big smile, and she was always giggling while she was riding on the boat. I'll never be able to walk around down the aisle, buy her first car, or take her to school for the first time. I watch her follow me around New York while I mow and wash cars. She was almost at the point where she was going to take her first steps, but I'll never get to see or do any of these things with her because they were all robbed from us by one careless person, Rhonda Jewell. To even think Rhonda could be so careless and leave my daughter in a hot car for 5 hours is so heart-wrenching.
And I can say again, he'll ever heal your broken heart. You will never know how truly so.
In the state court of Florida, Rhonda Jewell faced 3 serious criminal charges following the death of baby Ariya: third-degree manslaughter, child neglect resulting in severe harm, and negligent homicide of a minor. If convicted on all counts, she could face decades in prison. In the eyes of the law, this was not just a tragic incident, it was a disaster caused by the gross negligence of a person entrusted with the care of a young child. The defense strategy focused on Rhonda's psychological state and personal circumstances. Her attorneys portrayed her as a single mother struggling to prepare her son for college and an upcoming international trip. In those stressful days, according to the defense, forgetting a child in the back seat was not an intentional act, but the result of exhaustion and momentary distraction. To them, Rhonda was not a criminal. She was a woman who would live with the lifelong trauma of an irreversible mistake. However, the prosecution was unmoved by emotion. In court, they argued that Rhonda was not an inexperienced person. She had been a preschool teacher, a trusted nanny for years, and fully aware of the deadly risks of leaving a child in a car under Florida's blistering heat. She failed to check the number of children, failed to notice Ariya's absence, and never once returned to the vehicle in 5 hours. To the prosecution, this went beyond forgetting. It was an inexcusable level of negligence. This wasn't a momentary lapse in attention. This was 5 hours of deadly indifference, one prosecutor emphasized to the jury. After days of deliberation, the jury dismissed the most severe charge, felony manslaughter, but still found Rhonda guilty on the remaining 2 counts. Third-degree manslaughter for an unintentional act that resulted in death, child neglect causing serious harm, for failing to remove Ariya from the car, failing to feed or care for her over an extended period. The judge sentenced Rhonda to 17 years in prison, consisting of 15 years for manslaughter and 2 years for child neglect, to be served consecutively, not concurrently. She will only be eligible for parole after serving at least 14 years. Though the sentence did not reach the maximum allowed under the law, the message was clear. When it comes to children, every act of negligence must be answered by the law. No one has the right to use forgetting as an excuse when the consequence is a life lost, silently and in burning heat. For Ariya's family, no verdict could ever be enough. But the case became a powerful warning that childcare is not just a moral responsibility but a legal duty, and a single mistake may leave no chance for redemption.
I feel like a weight has been lifted off of our shoulders. I feel like we have accomplished, not only for the family, but for the community, for our...
We didn't know what to expect. So when the verdict came down, 17 years in the Department of Correction.
When the sentence was handed down, the courtroom fell silent for a few seconds. But it was the final words from baby Ariya's family that truly made the atmosphere unbearably heavy. Brooke Paige, the baby's mother, stood before the court with reddened eyes. Her voice broke as she recalled Ariya's eyes and smile, a 10-month-old child, bright, cheerful, and just about to start walking. Justice, the baby's father, couldn't hold back tears as he spoke of what had been lost forever. Both parents, though no longer living together, shared one unshakable truth. They had lost the most important part of their lives, and no sentence, whether 17 years or a lifetime, could ever replace the moments they should have had with their daughter. Their words weren't meant to demand harsher punishment, but rather stood as a cold reminder of the value of attention, of every fleeting second spent caring for a fragile life. In a world where adults may excuse themselves with busyness, a child had to die, silently, without a cry, simply because she was forgotten behind a car window, beneath the sunlight of what seemed like an ordinary morning. Just when it seemed that the 17-year prison sentence had concluded the entire criminal proceeding, the case suddenly took a new turn only a few months later. In February 2025, Rhonda Jewell was granted release on bail by the appellate court while awaiting a decision on her appeal. The bail was set at $100,000. The grounds for the appeal, according to her attorneys, were that the trial court had misapplied the concept of felony murder, arguing that there was no element of malice or intent to harm, only serious negligence that did not constitute criminal intent under Florida law. This decision sparked immediate public outrage, especially from the family of baby Ariya Paige. Brooke and Justice expressed their deep disappointment and anger upon learning that the woman responsible for their daughter's death had been allowed to return home, while Ariya would never have another chance to come back. A petition on change.org was launched, calling for Rhonda Jewell's bail to be revoked. In less than 48 hours, the petition had garnered over 5,000 signatures and spread widely under the hashtags Justice for Ariya, No Bail for Neglect. At the same time, the Paige family filed a civil lawsuit aiming to hold Rhonda accountable for Ariya's death, not just through the criminal system but also through civil liability. According to their legal representative, the goal of the lawsuit was not solely financial, but to maintain the pressure of justice on those who once neglected the life of a child entrusted to their care. In the eyes of the public, Rhonda may be legally free on bail, but she will never escape the judgment of a society increasingly intolerant of irresponsibility disguised as accident. The case of Rhonda Jewell did not end with a prison sentence. It sparked a wide-ranging public debate. Can a professional caregiver be forgiven simply for saying they forgot? Can the death of Ariya Paige, a child not even 1 year old, truly be considered an accident? Or was it the inevitable result of indifference masked by emotion? In the United States, dozens of children die every year after being left in hot cars, a horrifying statistic that is entirely preventable if adults would only remember. Ariya's case is no longer just a tragedy of one family. It is a wake-up call for every parent, guardian, or childcare professional. Never leave your vehicle without checking the back seat. Place your wallet, phone, or something important next to the car seat as a life-saving reminder. And if you are a caregiver, never forget. A single moment of carelessness can take a life, and sometimes that alone is enough to make you a criminal.